Hey there PlayStation fam, welcome to April 2018's edition of Gridlife Plus, the show where we take you through the list of free PS Plus games and let you know what's worth your time since they aren't costing you anything else. A pretty quiet month, so let's get straight into the main course. Mad Max. Now, is Mad Max the game of the century? No, but I really want Avalanche to get a second chance at making this game because it could really be the game of the century if they gave it just another shot with what they've learned from the first one. But that's another story. Even if you aren't really a fan of the Mad Max films, there's no reason to be timid about playing the game. The story's pretty basic and simple with a little bit of Fury Road tossed in here and there, so it makes it its own thing, but also a little tiny bit of a movie tie-in. The car combat is really cool. It's dirty and brutal and very fun. I also really liked the hand-to-hand combat. A lot of people didn't, but personally I did because you do get your butt kicked around here and there, and it's not as flashy as something like Batman, but it's very loyal to the gritty nature of the films. Of course, Mad Max is set in the post-apocalyptic desert of Australia, so expect to see a lot of sand in this huge open world.
I don't like sand.
But there are fortresses that pop up here and there and your towers, and there's actually a lot to do. You just gotta drive through a lot of dirt. This is definitely at least a 50-hour game if you really get hooked into it, like I did. Next, we got QBert Rebooted. And disclaimer, I've never played QBert before in my life, and let me tell you, if you're in the same boat as me, QBert Rebooted is probably gonna be a pass. I mean, you got both classic arcade version from 1982, and then this quote-unquote rebooted version. I mean, again, I have never played the original past just the first few levels that I did for this review, so I don't know if the rebooted version has anything new to it other than updated visuals. I guess if you're a fan of QBert, this is great news for you. Otherwise, QBert is not really a game I can recommend, especially in 2018. Next, we got In Space We Brawl, and playing this game alone was really ridiculous and hectic and just absolutely overwhelming. This is definitely a party game, almost like Smash Bros, but with spaceships and asteroids. There's a lot going on in every game, and the variety of ships isn't really easy to control. So if you're the type of person that needs to master a game to have fun, expect a pretty bumpy road here. Do I recommend this game? Only if you need a decent party game to hold you over until Smash comes out, but I'm sure there's plenty of better options. Next, we got TrackMania Turbo, which is probably the weirdest racing game I've ever played. The cars feel extremely fast, and the tracks are very short and require tons of control, and these two elements really don't fit. The whole time I just felt like I was in a Hot Wheels car that a 5-year-old was slamming around on a makeshift racetrack. And that was all before I tried the VR mode. Yeah, this crazy game has a VR mode, and I wasn't necessarily thrilled to try the VR just based on how the normal version played. But you know, I endured it for research purposes, and I guess it was kind of cool to be on these like custom-made roller coaster type tracks until like motion sickness hit me, and that's where I had to take the VR off. If you have a stronger stomach and can endure that motion sickness, go for it, play this game. However, there must be a better racing game out there that was given away for free at some point. So go ahead and play that instead of TrackMania Turbo. 99 Vidas. Vidas with a D. I guess that means life in Spanish. Yeah, this game is pretty weird. It's a classic arcade beat 'em up, like the old Simpsons game, but like with a Hispanic flavor. And there's plenty of characters that all have different elemental powers that affects their movesets and their special abilities. And the story kind of seemed a little interesting and might be enough to follow through on finishing 99 Vidas, but the gameplay is pretty boring and kind of frustrating, to be honest. And there's some sort of counter in the middle of the screen that's just there, counting down, very ominously. Again, this is a pretty strange game. I don't know what's going on most of the time. However, it does represent a group of people that isn't always properly represented in games. So if you relate to the theme and the content and the characters, go ahead and give it a shot. Otherwise, there's plenty of better beat 'em ups on other platforms, even on PS4. Well, that concludes April 2018's PS Plus game list. Not much hotness over here other than Mad Max, which is very highly recommended by your very own San Francisco treat over here. So at the very least, add that to your library for a dry season, which may or may not come in 2018, because you know, we got God of War coming out April 20th, and then Detroit soon after that, and then Spider-Man rounding up the fall. If you have time to play Mad Max, I'd say go for it. Otherwise, go ahead and pass up on most of these games of the April 2018 PS Plus free games. See you next month.